Well, Akon City is for the future, and it's for the youth, because the whole idea, if you're going to build a city, you got to be thinking the future. You know what I mean? I think the city is right now, it's a 10-year project, estimated. With all the latest new technologies, though, it might get shorter. You know what I'm saying? But with current technology, if it exists the same, which I doubt, it should be 10 years. But I want to keep the threshold for 10 so we don't under-deliver to an extent. So if we finish early, that'd be great. But the whole idea is to create what the future of Africa should be.
You all remember Akon, don't you? Yeah, him. Did you know he tried to build an actual Wakanda here in Africa? I mean, this one clearly didn't have Black Panther in it. Or maybe he wanted to be the Black Panther. Who knows? But he was ready to sink $6 billion to create it in Senegal. Akon City, it was to be called. Oh, it was exciting at the time. Powered by its own cryptocurrency, it promised to transform Africa forever. However, instead of a thriving city, all we have are empty fields and broken promises. We thought it was over, but now Idris Elba has stepped into the game with Akon City, a new project in Sierra Leone with similar big claims. So, are we finally getting a real futuristic African city? Or is this just another Akon City 2.0? In this video, we're breaking down both projects, exposing the truth behind the hype, and figuring out what Akon City can learn from Akon's failed dreams. Let's get into it. At first, Akon City seemed like an unstoppable force. The vision was bold, the promises were massive, and the excitement was through the roof. But when you strip away the flashy presentations and futuristic CGI renderings, the cracks in the plan start to show. And those cracks eventually shattered the entire dream. So why exactly didn't this work? What was the problem? Well, there was a lot. But let's start with the most common one in things like this. Money. Remember that Akon talked about a $6 billion project? It was as if he had the money already in hand. But in actual reality, there were no financial backers for the project. No real ones, at least. No major investors, no concrete funding sources, just vague promises and optimistic projections. Despite all the hype, the money never materialized. And without funding, no city can ever be built. Then the next problem that made this a bumbling failure was the cryptocurrency thing. You see, Akon positioned a new cryptocurrency which was called Acoin. Narcissistic much? But that's besides the point. This coin was supposed to be the financial backbone of the city. A digital currency that would replace traditional cash and empower people across Africa. You could even convert the minutes of your mobile phone to actual currency you can spend.
So let me explain that, because I know you're confused. So basically, the currencies in certain parts of Africa are so untrusted that people are utilizing their mobile minutes to purchase at the local market. So instead of giving them the real, like the currency, the local currency, they would just transfer minutes.
Oh, okay.
That's what gave me the idea.
I don't have $10, but I'll give you 10 minutes on your phone to use, and we'll just call it even.
So
well, hooray to the gods. But in the real world, no coin can ever do well if people don't buy and start using it. And for Acoin, nobody was using it. It never gained any real traction, and without widespread adoption, it was completely useless. It wasn't even functional enough to be the currency of a local convenience store, let alone an entire city. You see, crypto itself is volatile, and building an entire economy on a shaky, untested currency was a disaster waiting to happen. So clearly, that didn't work. But hey, all these promises were made, and the people of Senegal were waiting for their Black Panther to build their Wakanda. But little by little, a bitter reality began to set in. Years passed, and no construction took place. The land Akon had been granted sat untouched, and local communities started to question whether this city would happen at all. Some residents even claimed they were never properly consulted before the land was allocated, leading to disputes and frustration. What was once a source of excitement became a symbol of broken promises, with many Senegalese citizens feeling like they had been sold a dream that was never meant to come true. But if you really think about it at its core, the major problem here was a complete lack of planning. The entire city was built on ambition rather than strategy.
I think the mistake that I made was promoting it while the concept was being put together. So what happened was people already assumed that it existed.
Akon City was overambitious, promising just too much without laying the foundation for how to achieve it. There was no clear roadmap, no step-by-step development process, just a grand vision with no real execution. Instead of starting small and proving success, the project aimed for a futuristic metropolis overnight. It was unrealistic, unsustainable, and ultimately impossible. So, here we are. The land remains empty, the billions never came, and the dream of Akon City has faded into the same place as so many other failed utopian projects. A fantasy that never became reality. But hey, to his credit, Akon isn't giving up just yet. He says this thing would still happen regardless. Well, I guess we'll see. Although Akon City may have crashed before it even got off the ground, that hasn't stopped other celebrities from trying to build their own futuristic African cities. It's at this point in the video that we introduce our very own black Superman, Idris Elba. Besides his movies, this man has a new vision, Akon City. Only this isn't exactly new, is it? Akon did show us something like this in 2018. But hey, let's hear him out. He has this son of the soil vibe in his approach.
So even though I was born in London, my heritage was always a Sierra Leonean house.
Right.
You know, my mom, in fact, is from Ghana, but she moved to Sierra Leone when she was 12. So myself, not, you know, my culture is Sierra Leonean. Me Creole, it was small, but, you know, so.
Unlike Akon's failed dream of a crypto-powered metropolis, Elba's project is focused on sustainability, green technology, and self-sufficiency. This time, the city is planned to be in Sierra Leone, and Akon City promises to be a high-tech hub, environmentally friendly urban center designed to attract businesses, create jobs, and provide modern infrastructure, all while keeping its carbon footprint low. The goal? To blend cutting-edge development with eco-conscious living, offering a city that thrives without destroying the environment. This sounds familiar. Well, if you think about it at first glance, Akon City sounds like everything Akon City wasn't. Realistic, practical, and rooted in a vision that could actually work. But hey, I think we've heard promises like this before, right? The big question is this: is it the real deal, or are we looking at another billion-dollar dream that will never come true? Let's look at this a little more closely. How exactly is this different from Akon City? Are they just low-key the same thing but with different names and different faces? At their core, Akon City and Akon City share a strikingly similar blueprint. Both are ambitious futuristic projects backed by global celebrities who want to leave their mark on Africa. These cities are meant to be symbols of success, innovation, and economic transformation, promising to reshape the continent's urban landscape. But when you peel back the layers, the similarities go just beyond their grand visions. For starters, both projects are driven by star power. Akon, the music mogul, and Idris Elba, the Hollywood actor, have used their influence to gain attention and political backing. Their celebrity status has helped them pitch their cities as more than just development projects. They've portrayed as economic and cultural revolutions that will change Africa's future. But it begs the question, is influence enough to build a city? There's also the big talk about innovation, technology, and sustainability. Akon City was supposed to be a tech hub, powered by cryptocurrency, while Akon City brands itself as an environmentally friendly, high-tech urban center. Both promise futuristic infrastructure, cutting-edge solutions, and a better quality of life for their residents. But as we saw with Akon City, bold claims don't always translate into reality. Another key similarity: the heavy reliance on external investors. Neither Akon nor Idris Elba had billions sitting in a bank account waiting to be spent that we know of. Instead, their projects depend on attracting funding from international backers, businesses, governments, and wealthy individuals. Obviously, without this money, nothing gets built. And as we learned from Akon City, securing real investors is a lot harder than simply announcing a billion-dollar project. Finally, both projects have government support, but obviously no clear long-term strategy. Senegal's government backed Akon City by providing land, just as Sierra Leone's government is backing Akon City. However, does government approval mean success? Without detailed development plans, financial transparency, and step-by-step execution, these projects can easily fall apart. Akon City had the land, the hype, and political backing, yet today it's still an empty field. Will Akon City follow the same path, or has it learned from Akon's mistakes? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I guess only time will tell. I bet you want to know why nobody has promised to build a Wakanda in Nigeria. That's because we are already on track to having our own megacities, and you too can be a part of that. Oh, and they are both in Lagos, Nigeria. Now, unlike the overambitious projects that never got off the ground, Eko Atlantic and Alara City show what's possible when vision meets proper planning, funding, and execution. For example, in Eko Atlantic, it's a luxurious business and residential city built on reclaimed land from the Atlantic Ocean. What started as an ambitious idea to combat coastal erosion turned into one of Africa's most advanced urban developments. And unlike Akon City too, Eko Atlantic is actually backed by strong investors and government support that is fully clear and has a development timeline. Of course, most importantly, there is real progress to show for it. Skyscrapers are rising, businesses are moving in, and infrastructure is actually being built. It's no longer just a concept, it's a functioning city. You'd imagine, what about Alara City? Well, this is more of an inclusive, mixed-use smart city, designed for both businesses and residents. Rather than chasing a flashy, futuristic image, Alara City focuses on sustainable development with real, completed faces. Unlike Akon City, which tried to go from zero to a full-blown metropolis overnight, Alara City is growing organically, with businesses, industries, and housing developing step by step. It's a model for how African cities can be built properly, without empty promises, of course. Now, these two cities proved that building a modern, high-tech African city isn't impossible. It just requires real investors, a structured planning, and a step-by-step execution process. If Idris Elba's Akon City does want to succeed, it has to take notes from Eko Atlantic City and Alara City, rather than to follow in Akon City's doomed footsteps. As these two cities in Lagos are developing, investors are pouring in because the next decade is really promising. And there's actual proof that this is a no-brainer, high-yield investment. Come cut yourself a slice. Do well to reach out and let's get talking. Oh, and while you're here, please like and subscribe.